Hey everyone, welcome to Balanced Bodybuilding Radio. I am your host, Leemarie. I am a glam girl bikini coach and an NPC bikini competitor. And today I am not joined with my co-host, Amy. She is not here today, but instead I am joined by a very special guest who is a nationally ranked strongman competitor, full-time wife, full-time mom, full-time in the workplace, part-time boot camp coach, Melissa Kenner. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's so fun to be here.
I'm so stoked, and I'm so stoked that you're my first guest on this show. It's very exciting. We're still a very new show, so we're going to talk about a lot of things, fitness and balance. And this podcast is focusing on balancing, fitness and nutrition into the rest of your life. So competitors that are in their improvement season or lifestyle athletes who don't necessarily compete, but are, want to figure out how to fit fitness into their lifestyle. So I figured you would be a great one to interview on that, being that you are so many things and you wear so many different hats. And just this last weekend competed in your first Strongman Nationals. And in honor of that, I have my strongman and
I
powerlifting
saw
medals.
that.
If you're watching on YouTube, behind me is my medals from my only strongman competition and powerlifting competition that I only did one ever in my life. But I am so grateful that I did at least one. I said it on my Instagram this week, but I think every person who is into health and fitness at all should do at least one fitness competition, whether that's, strongman, powerlifting, bodybuilding, anything, just for fun, because you train differently. And I'm sure we'll get into
Yeah.
that in this podcast, but you train differently when you're going for a goal like that, even if your goal is not to become a competitor for life. But if you listen to this podcast, we always start with a random question,
Oh
and
boy.
no one knows the random question. I always just spring it on you. So, as always, if you're listening to this podcast and you have a random question that you want to ask us, you can go ahead and DM us on Instagram at Balanced Bodybuilding Radio. Or if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and we will include that in a podcast. But my random question for today, got two parts. So it is, if you had to choose one of your five senses that you had to give up and one of your five senses that you could give superpowers to, which ones would you pick and why?
Oh no.
And
Oh,
I've thought about this because I thought about the question. So I'm going to give my answer first while you think.
okay.
So the first obvious one that I can't, it's so hard to think of giving up any one of your senses. And one of them that I thought I could maybe give up was like touch. But then, I was thinking about this while I was holding my little niece and she was sleeping on my shoulder. And I was like, there's no way I could give up like feeling this little human on me. So I think I would actually give up my sense of taste. And I know that's like so classic bikini competitor because we follow such a strict diet. But I can't give up my sense of smell because then I feel like you're giving up almost like a sense and a half because your sense of smell is so integrated into your sense of taste. Also, I think it's a safety thing. Like if I'm in the house and the house starts on fire, I want to be able to smell that. And I feel like I could give up taste and I could live a tasteless life if I could keep all my other senses. And then I was thinking about which sense I would want to give superpowers to. And that one's a little bit harder. I think I would probably pick eyesight because I just think it would be sweet to be able to see like hundreds of miles away. I think that would be like really cool. So I think I would pick that. I would take away my taste and I would give my eyes superpowers.
Oh, those are good. And this is a really tough question because I th I think about these questions like, man, that would mean giving up fun stuff to do with my kids.
Yep.
So it's like it's more than just like what would I want to do? It's like the other things I would be giving up with it. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh shoot. I would I probably would have to say probably give up my sense of smell,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, because my husband and I we always joke I have a very sensitive sense of smell. Like I can smell things, and he's like, I don't smell anything.
Wow.
And so, and it's actually had been problematic for me. Like I will smell something and can't sleep at night because it keeps me up.
Really? Like
Yeah.
something
Oh yeah.
in the house or like food?
Food, like, so we'll cook with onion and garlic, and it just like lingers in the house. And if
Yes.
we don't open up the windows or have like sensies going or something, I have problems sleeping at night.
Wow. Okay. So you're gonna give up your smell. I'll give you that.
Yep. Um, for something to make a like superpower, oh, this one's tough. I would probably say I would probably have to say eyesight too. I have really bad vision, so just being able to hone in and make my vision a little bit better I would be okay with that.
Yes. Okay. I love it. All right. So if you are watching online, comment in the YouTube comments what your answer to this question would be. I'm really curious to hear. Okay. So, like I said, we just got back from Strongman Nationals in Dallas, Texas, where Mel competed in the 148 weight
Yep.
class. So is that considered medium or is that lightweight for women?
That is the middleweight.
Middleweight. Okay.
Yep.
And are there two middleweight classes?
Yep. So you will have in the middleweight, you will have 148 and 165. Those two weight classes make that up. Then you have your lightweight, which is 132, and then um, less than 123, and then less than 132 are your lightweight classes.
Okay.
So then anything above the 165 will get into like your heavier weight classes there.
Okay. So you were in the lighter side of middleweight.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go back a little bit further and then we'll talk about nationals and how it went. But I want to know the broad question that, everybody kind of starts with. How did you start in fitness? So like as an adult, how did you
Yeah.
get into fitness?
Well, so fitness was kind of like off and on, like just, okay, I know I need to do something. Did a little something, had personal trainers off and on because maybe I had like very short term goals. And then I was also very cheap or very poor college student, so I couldn't afford to keep personal training. So then it got to be years that I didn't do much physical activity. And then COVID hit. I think everyone kind of felt that during COVID with the lockdowns, with restrictions being in place. And I was working from home, and my kids were also at home too. So it was just, there was a lot of us in the house, workplace stress being brought into the home. I didn't get a chance to decompress from it. And I actually had a small health issue. I actually broke out into stress shingles.
Wow,
Um,
those are intense.
yes.
I've never
And
had them, but I know people that have.
it was the very smallest outbreak, but it was that kind of moment of realizing that I didn't handle stress as well as I thought I was, or that I do. Um, so then fast forward a couple of months, a boot camp opened up near my home, and there was a really great offer. Sign up. I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, this thing happened. I need to do something. And whether it's just, get out of the house like 3 times a week, because COVID at that point, like there's still a lot of lockdowns. I think mask restrictions were starting to come into place in some areas. Um, and so that's really just kind of how it started, was this physical issue became my momentum, or my reason, my motivation to do something.
hmm I love that.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you started into boot camp. How did you
Yep.
get from doing boot camp 3 times a week to training strongman?
So that it was kind of probably a year journey altogether. It was, starting boot camp was, let me find a stress outlet. Let me lose some weight. Let me, it was more of the physical goals that I had. What's the number on the scale? How do my clothes fit? And then it turned into, through boot camp, I started to see my clothes fit better. I was actually getting some muscle definition in places that I had never thought possible. So it was like, it was started to feel really good. And part of the boot camp also had strength training with weights, with barbells, with plates. And I was always terrified of that. Like, I always thought that if I picked up the barbell, like, I'm going to get big. I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my husband, he tried for years to get me to do weight training. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So now with boot camp, I was and started to see that I enjoyed feeling strong, that I could, without, with being a complete newbie, like my deadlift was this certain weight that I was PRing and doing things that I didn't think that I could do.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, then I connected with a separate personal trainer specifically to start looking at training for a powerlifting competition.
I would
Um,
take credit for that, by the way, everyone.
yes, yes, Lee totally gets the credit for that because I still remember you looking over at me. It's like, have you ever thought about a powerlifting competition? And I was like,
Yes.
she's crazy. It's like, there's no way. I'm not strong enough for that.
So, side note, I'm going to interrupt you real quick just to
Yeah.
bring the audience up to speed. I had just finished my powerlifting competition with this coach who is an amazing powerlifting coach. And I was coaching Mel at this gym, and I was the one that hooked her up with this
Yes.
coach. It was her and this other girl. It's like, because we would have these days where we would do PRs, and she got it. She had great form, great raw talent. She loved it. You could tell as she, was fighting for these heavier weights. So okay, so you got connected
Yep.
through me.
Uh,
Hi.
yes, yes. And I will always be so appreciative and thankful for that. And
You got it.
we didn't have a local powerlifting competition.
Mhm.
And so as I'm training with the strength coach for specifically for powerlifting at the gym that we train at, there were some flyers that got put up for a strongman competition and it listed the different events, the criteria, and I was like, what is this strongman thing? Like, how is this different from powerlifting? I
Yeah.
had no idea that this was such a thing. So I talked a little bit more to my strength coach about it, and he's like, this might be something fun for you to do. This might be something, to do while we wait for a powerlifting competition to open up so we can see where my max deadlift could be, how would I perform at a competition level, and just kind of really gauge. So I was like, oh my God. I mean, there were events on there like log press for AMRAP. There was max deadlift. There was stone load. There was farmer's carry. I was like, what? And then seeing the
What
prescribed
does that even
weights.
mean?
Right. I was like, it was a complete new foreign language. It's
Mhm.
like going out of I built a new comfort zone at boot camp
Mhm.
and now trying to learn something new at Strongman. It's like, I felt good at boot camp. I felt like, I know what I'm doing over here, and now I'm going to go be a newbie again in something else. So it was kind of nerve wracking, to be honest. But we did it. It was local, so that was the big thing of like it's at the gym that I train at. So how much more comfortable can I get?
Mhm.
Um, and so that was probably, I'm trying to think real quick, like about 7 months into the very start of my fitness journey. 7 months later was my first strongman competition. Um, wait, no, I had to think about that. Whoa, total lie there. It was about a year and a half, a year and a
Okay.
half.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, a year and a half later was my first strongman competition and probably trained for it for like 3 months, all said and done. And absolutely loved it.
Mhm.
Like it was a lot of fun. The people were really great. The atmosphere was really energetic. But I still wanted to do my powerlifting competition because that's what I originally got a coach for.
Mhm.
So then that was May. 5 months later was the powerlifting competition, and still had a lot of fun with that. But I realized that I liked strongman because of the variety of events, of the different things that you can train for
Mm-hmm.
versus powerlifting, which is still fun to train for, but it's just your three lifts, your deadlift, your bench press, your squat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I realized that I was more intrigued with strongman because of no event is ever the same. You're always going to have a press, you're always going to have a deadlift, but pretty much is everything else is kind of like whatever the organizer wants to do. So it's always kind of a little surprise of what you want to sign up for.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you prepped for that and then you've done how many strongman competitions have you done total? Is it three that you've done?
Three total, including nationals from last weekend. Yes.
So then, so talking about competition prep, what
Yes.
what is it about prepping for a competition versus lifestyle fitness? So when you're just having these goals like I want to lose weight, I want to look better versus prepping for a competition, what do you love most about doing the competition prep, that style prep, and what do you dislike the most of it versus doing lifestyle fitness?
I would say what I like most about it is that it's you always have milestones for something.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it breaks it down to where it's easier. It's more achievable for me, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that, it's a marathon. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a sprint. So you kind of I break down the prep into, all right, this is off season. This is where I need to eat for gains, right? And
Yeah.
then, okay, now I need to eat because we hit the halfway mark. We're getting about 3 months out. Now I need to start eating to maybe cut down a little bit to make weight.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a constant shift.
Mm-hmm.
And that just means, okay, it's a week by week thing until I get to this goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then once I get to that date, once I get to that goal, now I get to set another goal. And whereas lifestyle, it's a bit different with that of like, okay, I have hit this certain number on the scale that's been my goal. Now I have to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems more rigid in a way
Okay.
because like and that's me, of
Yeah.
like it seems more rigid because
I
I
love
have to
that.
stay here. I don't get to, you know, if I enjoy this, I'm moving higher away from that number on the scale.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I think competition prep just means I get to have a little more variety, a little bit more fun. It ebbs, it flows, and it's okay that it ebbs and flows because what my goal is for that competition is to make weight, to keep my strength,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
How would you say that you've grown mentally and maybe emotionally? I know, like a lot of us, and even you said that you started out, and I would say probably 99% of women start their fitness journey for pure weight or physique goals. Like, I want to
Mhm,
look a certain way. I think maybe 1% do it for another reason, like health, like
mhm.
maybe they had a disease or something and it's like a health thing. Maybe, I'm maybe exaggerating those numbers a
Yeah,
lot, but I think the majority, it's pure vanity and insecurity that we have as women that we are looking to achieve. Like you said, that number on a scale. But then once you get there, it's almost there's more pressure to stay there.
right.
But you right now having this mindset of, it's going to come and go and I'm going to be leaner some days and I'm going to be heavier at some points and it's worth it for my sport because my goals now have to do with my sport and getting stronger. And like how has that journey come like mentally to make that switch?
It's still a journey because I just actually just talked with my coach the other day about, hey, I want to move down to a lighter weight class because if I were to to continue to compete at the 148 weight class, my walk around weight needs to be higher.
Mhm.
And I'm still not comfortable with that.
Mhm.
I would still not be comfortable in my skin. So there still is a bit of a physique thought behind it. So it's still a journey. So I still think about and work with it. But for it has helped a lot for me to realize like how disciplined I can be when I really want to be. You know,
Mhm.
it is doable
Mhm.
because if I have this goal, I paid money to sign up for this event. Like there's dollars tied to this goal now. I don't want to, miss this opportunity that I committed myself to.
Mhm.
Um, so it's been good mentally, it's been good for discipline. And then it's also like I think about it, it's good for my kids to see that I've signed up to do something and they may not be happy with it because that means they have to eat more vegetables on their plate. But it's like, hey, if you sign up to do something, if you say you're going to do something, this is what we have to do to get there.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, this is a perfect segue because my next question has to do with the kiddos. So,
Yeah.
you have twins that just turned 5. Happy
Yay.
birthday to them this
Thank
last
you.
weekend. So, a boy and a girl.
Hmm.
Busy mom. Okay, so I want to talk about fitness, fitting in and balancing fitness, and with you, a serious competition prep. How do you balance that with working full time? So you have a full time job, being a full time mom of twins that are 5
Yep.
and 2 cats, having, full time wife. Also, you are a part time coach as
Yes.
well. You're a part time boot camp coach. How do you still have time to track and prep your food, to get your training in, and to focus on recovery on top of all of that? What is your secret? What are your tips and tricks? How do you do it?
Uh, every day's a pivot.
Okay.
Not gonna lie. And it's a lot of planning that I would do with my husband. We communicate because he's also into his fitness journey. So we work around each other of like, hey, I got to do this training. Hey, I got to go take the kids to school. Hey, the kids have this activity. So it's a lot of being very open with when do I need to do something versus does he need to do something versus the kid schedule. And we've talked about it before that sometimes when you're so busy, it forces you to stay on track
Mhm.
because there have been days where I'm like, I don't want to train. But then I sit and think about it. It's like, well, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to have any other time until after the kids go to sleep at 8 o'clock at night. And I don't like training in the evenings. So it's okay. Well, I guess I'm getting up at 4:30 to go do this workout, or he's going to go pick up the kids. So as soon as I log off work, I'm headed. We are very fortunate. We actually have a little home gym down in the basement, so that helps a lot right there for cutting out time from having to travel to the gym from there and back. But it's a lot of planning and communication that we do together. And he likes to cook. God bless him. He loves to cook. I'm so happy because I love food. I do. And he's a great cook. So it's also that of, hey, I need to do meal prep. When can I have time in the kitchen? What do you need to do in the kitchen today? How can we help each other? So there's some days I'm meal prepping on Sunday mornings. I'm meal prepping when the kids are upstairs playing. And he's going to be kind of keeping an ear out for them. Or they know also sometimes when he goes and picks up the kids, I'm down in the basement training. So by the time they come back from school, I'm still in the basement training, and maybe by the time I'm done, they're eating, but it's still like we try to make it work and just it's a pivot. It's a constant pivot.
I love
But
that.
being okay with that, it's a pivot and that you just kind of have to just work with each other.
I love that. Okay, so you mentioned it before that the kids don't necessarily like that you're prepping because they have to eat more vegetables.
Yeah.
But I just want to know for those listening, what would your top 3 tips for busy moms and meal prep B? So on the nutrition side of things, what
Kiss
has
it,
worked for you? Do what?
kiss it, keep it simple. You know, I try to stick with like, what's my carb? What's my rice? Is it a bread? Is it pasta? Is it something that you can make in bulk, but that is also easy?
Mhm.
Um, and then, you know, frozen veggies are such a lifesaver for me. I always thought that if I wanted to be healthy, that I had to do fresh.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but frozen veggies are just as good, and I can put it in my to-go container, still frozen,
Mhm.
and I keep it in the fridge, and I'll microwave it when I need to warm up my container.
Mhm.
And then, we grill a lot.
Mhm.
We go in, we split a beef and pork with my in-laws. So that helps a lot with some cost right there. And we will grill up a big batch of meat sometimes.
Mhm.
So it's enough for leftovers during the week. I know, like, it's not fast digesting like chicken or something, but it's still really good protein. It's pork,
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
beef, as long as like however you season it to make it fit your goals of what you need to.
Mhm.
Yep, it's easy. It's like, okay, now I have my veggies, I have my rice, I have my protein, put it all together, and then I will make enough for during the week so we can just grab and go and stick
Mhm.
it in a lunchbox. We don't have to think about it in the morning. And then it just kind of helps us be. Breakfast and lunch are usually our pre-meal plan, prepped, everything. And then dinner is kind of a little bit more every other night. What do we have going on? Do we have leftovers? And that's where we tend to be a little bit less strict on sticking to our goals, but it still fits in ish.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
And then do you track everything that you eat?
So you might want to plug your ears, but
If you don't know, I am still Mel's nutrition coach. So,
when I am in like my off season
mhm.
trying to make weight, I am less disciplined about sticking to logging my food. But when I'm in competition prep, I need to make weight. I need to lose this amount of weight by this date. Yes, I will log my food, and I try to pre-log it, if not for the full week, because you can at least guesstimate for the full week based on what you meal prepped, what
Yep.
it's going to look like. But for sure, at least like the night before, I'll try to log what I can. And there are some things that it's always going to be the same. For me, breakfast is always coffee, my greens, Kodiak cake, it's always going to be the same thing. So it's always just like copying it over from the day before.
Yep.
But if I make something new, homemade, and I don't trust, that the information in the database is as accurate, then it's okay, let me go log in and put this recipe together. And then sometimes I really hate that I do that because it's like, oh, that's more calories or more than I thought it was going to be, but it keeps me honest.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And I would even say, like, even though you are slightly looser necessarily with tracking in your off season, um, having that discipline to track everything and know what's in recipes and know how much it actually is, you're probably more on point than, pretty much everyone else that never tracks, even when you're not tracking, would you say?
yeah, because at least now it's like I know, even during the off season, like, okay, I know my breakfast, like I said, it's always the same. It's gonna
Yep.
be this. I
Yep.
know my lunch is still gonna be this thing.
Mhm.
Where I get to be a little more off track and less disciplined is, am I going out for a happy hour with friends at work? Am I, recently had a fundraiser event to go to at a local brewery, and that was like probably 1 month before nationals, and I still went. I still got to have a couple beers, and unfortunately they didn't have the greatest food there, but it's like I still logged all of that because now I can have that honest conversation with myself and with my nutrition coach of, hey, I had a little setback here, so what do I need to do to maybe dial it in? okay, we need to wait for, things to kind of level out before we make any more changes. So that's where it's like, don't don't feel bad about a slip up, but just like, how do you get ready to kind of just move forward with being a little tighter on some days? Like, all right, I gave from Peter to give to Paul, or I took from Peter to give to Paul. So just be ready for, like, just got to dial it in.
Yeah, we have I know my coach Amy says this a lot about um balance, finding balance, and with your nutrition, it's really about a budget.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if I'm going to spend a little bit more here on this day, I might have to tighten up over on these days or even
Yep.
this meal. Like
Yep.
I know I want to have, like, I'm going over to my mother-in-law's and she makes like oh, well, your mom always, you talk about, she makes amazing Korean food. And so it's like,
Yes.
I know if I'm going over there, I'm going to have Korean food. How can I tighten up my meals during the day? And
Mm-hmm.
versus let's not fast. Let's not completely, arrive there because then we're going to overeat and, probably eat way more calories than we need, but like let's budget throughout the day or throughout the week so that we have more to spend on those calories.
Yes. And I'm a terrible budgeter. Full transparency, I am. So I'm not part of the 000 club. I am not that good yet, but I get as close as I can,
I love it.
and it's being okay with not being a perfectionist on some days.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it's always just about, did I make progress?
Mm-hmm.
If and maintenance. Did I just make that one little bit of 1% progress? Did I do just a little bit better than the day before? If I didn't, okay, well, then how do you kind of rebound from that? And yeah, I mean, when I know that I have a happy hour with friends, okay, I have to eat this salad or I have to eat this that I brought because I knew I'm going to go have like some street tacos later.
Yeah, no, I think if you're a mom listening to this, or literally anyone listening to this, that what you just said just there is gold. Like knowing that you do not have to be a perfectionist and you are not going to be perfect, but you can be 1% better every day. I mean, that's
Yep.
it. That's the key
Yep.
right there. That's balance. I love that. So, okay, continuing on with that, since you're just dropping just these awesome nuggets of advice. So as a woman in fitness and a coach, I think most of our listeners that are, bikini competitors, obviously wellness competitors in their improvement season, or even just lifestyle clients, I think a majority of them are women. But you are also a coach and you coach women in
Mm-hmm.
fitness. So what do you find hearing from your athletes? What are the most common hindrances that come up to women in finding like a fitness routine? So with working out, finding something that they can enjoy, or if they're struggling to prioritize time for themselves and their own physical, health and fitness goals.
Mm-hmm.
What are the most common things you encounter that are hindrances to that? And then what is your advice for those things?
Um, I would say so. I truly coach part time. I only coach on the weekends, just like we said, we've got a lot going on. So I love that I get to coach and work with so many great women at the boot camp. And when they do chat, it's a lot of, yeah, how to make the time. It's not it, it seems like I need to find the time to do it. And they come and say, how do I make the time to do this? Or feeling guilty about prioritizing themselves. And it's I some of the women I've talked to, it's like it's okay to be selfish for this 1 hour a day of you come in, you do a workout. It's okay to be selfish, to prioritize yourself. You are not a bad mom, wife, person, sister, daughter because you want to take 1 hour a day for yourself. There was someone I talked to, it was like, you get 1 hour at lunch a day for yourself or 30 minutes a day for lunch for yourself. This is kind of the same. You get 45 minutes, 1 hour a day for yourself. And I am going to be 100% honest with you. And this is what I share with some of the ladies that I work with. It's like, I'm a nicer person to be around my husband and my kids because I was able to blow off some steam. I got a workout in first thing. Um, and so I have more patience. I am nicer. I get to actually sit back and enjoy watching my kids a little bit more because I have less tension built up.
Mm.
So that's how what I see a lot of and communicate with them is like, it's okay to be selfish. Don't feel guilty about it. At the end of the day, once your family starts to see, like, it kind of benefits them too, they're probably going to be asking you, when are you going to go work out again? You know?
Is that what they ask you? Is that what the husband asks you? Like, honey, I
Well,
think you go down and work
he's
out.
he's actually had said, he's like, you haven't worked out in a few days. I can tell. But but that was like, I think before I even picked up the strength training too. So it was when I was just doing 100% boot camp as like my fitness like outlet. Yeah, he would be like, yeah, you didn't get a workout in today. He's like, I can tell you're just a little bit like more grumpy.
It's relationship advice right here.
Yeah,
Ladies,
it
go
is.
to the gym.
Go to the gym, and it's like it's 1 hour a day away from the family, and it's okay. It's okay. That is your me time should not be. This is what I say. Your me time should not be going to the grocery store by yourself. Like your me time should be the place that you enjoy going to. And if that is the gym, if that's, going out for a walk, just 1 hour of by yourself as something that you enjoy doing, then that's where I think the stress relief comes in, the tension relief. And um, yeah.
No, I love that. And I love the idea of you will never find the time. You have to make the time.
Hmm.
And in like practical, you getting up at 4:30, you are literally making time right there. You're
Yeah.
adding time onto your day.
Well, and my husband and I, we just like before this, we just talked about like, hey, what is your schedule like this week? Because he might have to go in a couple of days early this week. So, okay, well, I think I can still go in at the normal time to go get my workout in. So it's a lot of that making the time back to communicating with your partner, with your significant other, whoever else is in the household to help make sure that you can get your time in.
Okay, I love that. So to finish up, I want to hear future plans for competition. A little bit like how did nationals go? What are you doing after this? And then I have one more question for you, but let's catch up. So
Okay.
nationals, just quick recap how that went and what you're doing next.
So overall, nationals was such a great experience. I went into it with my goal of I didn't want to come in dead last in my weight class.
Mhm.
And full transparency, I did. Um, and that's okay because I know at least at the end of the day, I competed and prepared as well as I could have for it. So um, it still sucks, not gonna lie, because I mean, coming in dead last is not fun. But I met so many great women in that I competed with, and also got to cheer for and hear them cheer for me. It was just like this own nice little, just kind of camaraderie that was built. But I also realized I was not as well rounded in the events as I thought as I could have been.
Okay.
There was no event that I just did super well in, and that kind of helped carry my score across some of the other events. So future plans with that now are I'm going to try to cut down into a lighter weight class. So, like we said, in middle weight, you have two weight classes, 148 and 165. I'm going to try to cut down to the lightweight class, which is 123 and 132, I believe. So I'm going to try to cut down to 132 since that is kind of the top end or the heavier end of the lightweight class.
Mhm.
So the next 3 months, I will be cutting down, working towards that goal because I have a competition coming up in August that I'll be hopefully do well enough in and can qualify for nationals next year, which will be in Denver. So still close-ish.
Mhm.
But
Driving.
that means my goals now for off season are it's not even really an off season yet because I don't get an off season, but the next 3 months are
We call
going to
it
be
improvement.
improvement season. There you
Yes.
go. Um, I will be trying to cut down from my current weight.
Mhm.
Every week, I got to be losing some weight, which is very different from my improvement season over the last year, which is put on the weight, put on the mass, and
Yep.
maintain that. So now it's like, okay, my summertime means being a little bit more strict with myself. And that's okay because two goals ahead from now are hopefully nationals for next year. So I know this is all kind of going to be leading up towards a more long-term goal that I want to get to.
I love that because our the audience that we have that is in their improvement season, it's so important for us to focus on those competitions, even though yours, I mean, yours is a year out. A lot of the competitors in their improvement season, they're thinking it's a year before I even start prep. And sometimes I think it can be hard to stay as laser focused as
Mm-hmm.
when you have a competition in 3 weeks, you know, versus I have one next year, you know, I might not give everything I have in the gym, or I might not track every gram like you mentioned before the 000 Club. Some of us on the team here at Glam Girl have started this unofficial 000 Club where you zero out your carbs, fats, and protein. And we want to make sure everyone knows you don't have to do that to make progress, but it is like just another little goal to keep you kind of shooting for excellence when you don't have a competition or a show coming up that close where it's breathing down your neck, and to
Mm-hmm.
stay focused in that improvement season. You're already looking at nationals next year and strategizing and focusing on that, which I think is really cool. So that leads me into my last question, which is any last words to our audience about specifically your sport, so strongman, and what, like, how would you encourage people to try it? If somebody is like,
Yes.
that is crazy, I wouldn't even know where to start. Any like encouragements to, you know, moms or just lifestyle athletes, or even, you know, some bodybuilders that are looking for something fun to try, you know, would you encourage that, and how would you encourage them to start?
100% yes, give it a try. Just say, make it a bucket list item. Like, hey, just to say I did this because I don't know about training for bodybuilding, for physique, but it is so fun to see yourself PR constantly. You're always doing those small incremental weight changes and you see the strength grow. And that is just like such a great like boost to the ego. Seriously.
Yeah.
Um, but give it a try. And if you're not sure how to get started, I'm like, how would you do that? I mean, like if you're not sure how to get started, just look up USS like Strongman
Okay.
and look for a local event or local-ish that's they usually get those like populated every few months, and or even just like look up videos of USS Strongman and look for specifically female competitors, because you look at USS Strongman, you think of like these big, beard, muscly men, like if you watch Game of Thrones, like the Hound or the Mountain, these characters that are just like big and burly. But as a female athlete, you look at that as like, I don't want to be that. So look for female strongman competitors and see just like how, like, honestly, just badass these ladies are, like how strong they are. And that it's such a fun community, super supportive. So I would say 100% give it a try, just to say you did it, did the experience. And, even if it's just a once a year competition or just a one time, once a year, whatever you want to do. But yeah,
I love it. I love it. You'll get so much confidence out of just doing a competition. Hmm.
yep, 100% agree. And it's so nerve wracking because you go into a competition, you don't know anyone, but by the time you leave, you have made so many new friends. You really have, because I don't play golf, but my husband does. And I think of this a lot like golf because yeah, you're competing against other people and obviously you want to do well and you want to place, you want to rank, but at the end of the day, how you perform is all on you, you know.
Yep.
And but you also want to see your fellow competitors do well too, because we've all been there. I think even in bodybuilding with powerlifting, we've all had bad days, bad training days, bad performance days, bad competitions. So it's like you understand that feeling that if you don't do well, I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. So you heard it here first. Everyone should do a strongman competition once in their life.
We need more women.
Yes, feminine fitness. Okay, so thank you so much for spending so much time to talk about, finding balance of fitness and, full-time life. We really appreciate that. And if you want to join the team here at Glam Girl, you can go to glamgirlbikini.com and click the Get Started button. And please follow us on Instagram at Balanced Bodybuilding Radio. And you can follow me at Leemarie183. Mel, do you want to leave your Instagram in case anyone wants to DM you with questions?
Yeah, sure. First, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. My first ever podcast. So thank you so much. And if you ever have any questions or want to know more about Strongman, my Instagram handle is at mkenner2, the number 2.
I love it. Okay. So DM us if you have any questions or want to join the team. And until then, thanks for listening, guys.